Okay, I'm back again. Good morning once again. So I have already opened the webinar. At this point, I'm going to call on the queen of research action learning, the chair of all ARAL congresses, and the president of Biota Philippines. Please welcome Dr. Maricar S. Prudente from De La Salle University.
Okay, good morning everyone.
There you go.
Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to the second of the DLSU Leader ARAL webinar series. For this morning, we have a recent graduate of De La Salle University Science Education Department. He is currently an instructor at the Nueva Vizcaya State University. He is also recent recipient of our outstanding dissertation for last school year. And in keeping with our mission of extending our services to others, particularly educators and those who are interested in doing action research, we have decided to invite him to share with us his action research dissertation. So without further ado, I'd like to give you Dr. Rodney Kahimat. Thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Rodney, you now have the floor. Thank you, Dr. Bing, for that.
Hello. Okay, do you hear me, everyone?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I am Rodney Kahimat from College of Teacher Education of Nueva Vizcaya State University, Bambang Campus. Thank you, Dr. Shirley Dita, Dr. Maricar Prudente, and De La Salle University BAGCED Leader and ARAL in cooperation with the artist for inviting me today to deliver an online lecture on qualitative criteria of action research and the zero waste material cycling and industry-oriented teaching model. So that title is long, but as we go on with today's online lecture, it will become more familiar and easy to remember. Okay, so let me share my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so in this online lecture, I will discuss the qualitative criteria which are used by reviewers to assess a submitted action research manuscript. In this regard, I will present to you a completed educational action research which follows the qualitative criteria. In this completed action research, I will discuss the methodologies used, especially the Plan, Do, Study, Act model, and how the PDSA model helped in the formulation of the zero waste material cycling and industry-oriented teaching model. When we try to do a review or when we browse the internet for the definitions of action research, readings will tell us that authors try to integrate the how, what, and why we conduct action research into their definitions. Watts 1985 described it as a process by which researchers examine their own practice using the techniques of research. As such, we can employ various quantitative and qualitative analyses used in other researches to study our own profession using action research. Chemis and McTaggart, on the other hand, identify action research as a form of collective self-reflective inquiry conducted by participants to study certain situations in their practices and how these are carried out. So we can understand from this definition the importance of qualitative methodologies in action research. Among the various definitions of action research, we will use the definition provided by Miller, Aguja, and Prudente, so as to give direction and basis for today's online lecture. This definition pertains to action research as a design that involves an iterative or cyclical process involving the identification of the root causes of certain educational issues, in which the action researcher plans a plausible strategy to address the issues and eventually to be evaluated and reflected on the outcomes of these strategies. To illustrate the definition, we will use the PDSA model. So the PDSA model means plan, do, study, act model, in which it is composed of course with 4 stages, namely plan stage, do stage, study stage, and act stage in a cyclical and iterative manner. So in this figure, we can see the PDSA cycle in 3 iterations. In the planning stage, we, together with the stakeholders, identify issues to solve, then we plan what strategies to use. We do or implement the strategy as we study the gathered data or evidences of change and improvement, and then we act on what we have learned and reflected throughout the process. With all these experiences, we then redesign, reevaluate, rethink, revise, and scale up the action research for change and improvements in the next cycle. In addition, we must also understand that action research is not a specifically qualitative analysis, but it is a framework of which various quantitative and qualitative methods can be used. Simply, a framework which may utilize mixed method of research. However, action research follows a qualitative logic. So what does this mean? The researcher and the community or organization, so it could be group of people or group of teachers maybe, who work on together to address certain real-life issues through action research. That even the researcher use various instruments like survey or questionnaires, the design, implementation, and analysis are done collaboratively by the researcher and the participants of the community or their organization. Therefore, the qualitative criteria focus on the research design, implementation, and application of the action research rather than focusing on a single aspect like in the analysis part only. Meaning to say, the qualitative criteria must be observed in every phase of the action research, that is, from the planning stage until manuscript writing. So in this lecture, we may be using qualitative touchstones to refer to the qualitative criteria. You should not be confused that when we say qualitative touchstones, we are not referring to the qualitative analysis part of the research, but rather we are referring to the set of qualitative criteria that experts use to assess and review submitted action researches. These qualitative touchstones, according to Stoker and Brydon Miller in 2013, so their focus is on the broader aspects of both the underlying theory and practice, as well as the processes and outcomes of the action research. So how are these portrayed in the research design during the implementation and application of the findings? So these qualitative touchstones, according to Stoker and Brydon Miller in year 2013, are number 1, articulation of objectives. Number 2, partnership and participation. Number 3, contribution to action research, theory and practice. Number 4, methods and process. Number 5, actionability. Number 6, reflexivity. Number 7, significance. And number 8, research ethics within an action research framework. So let us first discuss the first criterion, articulation of objectives. In an action research project, the objective should include how does the action research address the identified issues that concern the specific community or organization. So reviewers would like to see how the research objectives reflect the goals of the community partners with regards to the identified issues and how the community and the researcher collaboratively work together for the articulation of their objectives to attain a practical change. So the second criterion focuses on partnership and participation. With the objectives of the researcher and the stated goals of the community properly articulated, the action research should describe the quality of relationship between the researchers and the research participants in the community. So it should also emphasize, the action research should also emphasize the impact of the action research that contributed to the attainment of the practical change and improvement. The third criterion is the contribution to action research, theory, and practice. Transferability of knowledge should be evident so that the resulting knowledge derived from the action research can be adapted and applied by other researchers and other communities to their situations. Therefore, the methods used should be clear and can speak about the framework, its procedures, and modes of implementation of the action research. Moreover, in order for the action research to be meaningful, it has to be effective in helping other communities or organizations to deepen their understanding of similar concerns or issues, and it will help them to strategize their own solutions to such similar issues or problems. The fourth criterion pertains to the methods and process of the action research. In here, the methods and process developed or used in the action research should be specifically and concisely described. Also, it should be linked to a wide literature of action research. But given the collaborative nature of action research, there may be instances that there will be multiple stories reflecting different experiences of the participants. If this happens, the goal should not be to give solution to these differences in experiences, but rather to find the origins and explore the possibilities that might exist, which result to the differences of experiences of the participants. All these things should be reflected under methods and processes. The fifth criterion is actionability. We, action researchers, learn by doing. And through the experiences in conducting the action research, we understand how change took place in the process of doing the research. And that is the value of action research. The extent to which the process of the action research has resulted in substantive change in the community and the possibility of knowledge transfer to other settings and other researchers. And so, actionability is a central measure of action research. How the action research became useful to inspire the positive social change or improvement of the practice or our profession. The sixth criterion is reflexivity. So as we all know, as we go on with the processes and cycles of an action research, we must reflect. Remember that action research is all about achieving change to solve issues of our own practice. Even if we do collaboration, we have an articulated objectives and we are attaining common goal. Thus, if we want to have positive change in our own practice, we reflect. So I have here a question, And I want some of you to share your answers in the comment box. So the question is, how can reflection improve your profession or practice? So you may share your answers now in the comment box. So I want to read some of your sharings also. Okay, I have here Sir Kenneth Ian Batak. He says, to improve the teaching of a particular topic in the next cycle. So assuming that you have already done action research previously, so you are now going to reflect upon the findings of your previous action research, and now you want to improve more your teaching and adapting these improvements in the next cycle of action research. So that's good. So I have also here an answer from Cyril de la Fuente. Sir Cyril, he says, you determine the rooms for improvement and you identify the gaps need to be filled in. Okay, very good. Nice sharing. So according to Ma'am Marlene Guerrio, it serves as your compass. You will be able to know if you are hitting your target or not. It is also your way to adjust your instruction. Of course, you are now, as you do reflection, you are also doing self-examination. So still you are looking into yourself and identifying what areas that need to be improved. Very good, nice sharing. So last one, from Mom Cheryl Castillo. Through reflection, we will know what goes right and what needs to be improved and what we do. So very nice. So as we go along with our action research, we try to do reflection to, as I've said, for self-examination. So thank you very much for the sharing. Okay. So the seventh criterion is significance. Actually, the significance of an action research is a combination of all the previously mentioned touchstones and including research ethics. Reviewers will want to see well-documented description of the project, how it is significant to both the researcher and the participants, and how the changes resulted from the action research project affected both the researchers and the participants. The work should reflect honestly all the challenges encountered, and finally, it should capture the values and spirit of the action research. These are curiosity, engagement, commitment, caring and concern for genuine problem solving, and the practical impact to the community, profession, or organization the action research serve. The eighth criterion I will be mentioning was included by Stoker and Brydon Miller in their article. It is because action research is, like other researches, needs to be examined for ethical consideration. Moreover, action researchers should bear in mind that action research is based on respect for the experiences, of course, by the participants, which could be personal and their knowledge. So the pursuit of a vital information may involve sensitive data like traumatic experiences that may be awakened during interviews or surveys. As such, research ethics must be implemented from the initial development of the research question through the development of strategies, dissemination of results, and even to the application of the meaningful results of the action research toward addressing critical community concerns. So at this point onward, we will try to analyze an educational action research. So you will focus on the 8 qualitative touchstones as I present my completed action research. So let's first review the 8 qualitative touchstones of action research according to Stoker and Brydon Miller. Number 1, articulation of objectives. Number 2, partnership and participation. Number 3, contribution to action research theory and practice. Number 4, methods and process. Number 5, actionability. Number 6, reflexivity. Number 7, significance. And number 8, research ethics within an action research framework. So to analyze the action research that I will be presenting, you will see a box outlined with red broken lines. So try to analyze the content of the slide being presented and relate it with the qualitative touchstones inside the box. During the open forum, you may want to raise some questions, comments maybe, or you may want to clarify on something. So the completed action research is entitled Zero Waste Material Cycling and Industry-Oriented Instructional Activities for Science Teaching. This dissertation was completed successfully because of my advisor, the most cited scientist who pioneered action research in the Philippines, no other than Dr. Maricar Pudente. This research was also featured by the Action Research to Innovate Science Teaching project, co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union, with the artist project leader in the Philippines, Dr. Lydia Roleda, and artist experts, Dr. Socorro Aguja and Dr. Minnie Rose Lapinid. We showcase this action research as one of the featured projects from the Philippines during the Culmination Conference held in Batumi, Georgia last 2019. So allow me to present to you the highlights of the action research conducted. The industry-oriented learning approach is a perspective of teaching which utilizes the processes involved in industries to teach the concepts of a particular topic or lesson using learner-centered activities. So the concepts taught in the classroom may be contextualized by creating instructional activities that are patterned by how the industry produce, design, operate, and develop their products. In the Philippines, the Department of Education, through DepEd Order Number 35, Series of 2016, prescribed the contextualization, localization, and indigenization of the K-12 basic education curriculum through the utilization of local experiences and cultural practices. The DepEd stressed that deepening the curriculum through contextualization is a critical strategy in providing spaces for diverse cultural practices in the K-12 basic education curriculum. The contextualization of the curriculum for our education offers wide variety of strategies, most notably that the Philippines is so diverse in terms of culture, practices, and even industries in different provinces, which are brought about by their unique geographic setting, like here in Vizcaya, mountains. We have mountains here. We have mountain ranges, and also island isolation. Cultural practices can be integrated into social sciences, including literature and languages, while contextualization of specific local industries like agriculture and horticulture can be integrated with natural sciences. In this research presented, processes of a local industry were utilized to contextualize science teaching. The citrus industry in Nueva Vizcaya has been continuously developed and supported by different institutions for more than 30 years. This industry, aside from rice and vegetable production, gives livelihood to many local farmers of the province. According to De La Cruz in 2005, the Philippines contribute to about 0.16% of the world's citrus produce, and a massive volume of it comes from our province here in Vizcaya. So citrus varieties available in Nueva Vizcaya market includes Satsuma, also known as the Japanese mandarin, or Ponkan, the Chinese mandarin. We have also lime, calamansi, navel orange, lemon, and of course, the large pomelo. Here, I show you the size comparisons of the different citrus fruits from Satsuma to calamansi. To share your story, I once used these citrus fruits in my class. I have shown them calamansi and lime. Side by side, they cannot even differentiate the two. It saddens me that this citrus fruit may no longer be known to our young Vizcayanos, but I am hopeful that since I am a teacher, I can indigenize some of our lessons to integrate our local citrus fruits. In Nueva Vizcaya State University, we have a facility called NVSU Food Processing Center. NVSU has registered utility models under the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. These utility models specifically for citrus include making shelf-stable citrus fruit leather and processes for producing citrus tomato juice, carrots citrus juice, and conserve made from mandarin from pomace and rind. The university also has a facility that processes citrus secondary products like rind into pomace, fruit preserves, and conserve, turning these excess citrus materials into a consumable product. Aside from this, the Citrus Processing Center also produces primary citrus products like wine, vinegar, and citrus soap. The citrus industry in Nueva Vizcaya continuously flourishing due to the effort and support of many non-government and government agencies like the Nueva Vizcaya State University. However, as an action researcher, I wanted to look at the state of the citrus industry in Nueva Vizcaya across various years. I personally requested the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations to endorse me to the Philippine Statistics Authority Crops Statistics Division to release the data regarding the volume production of citrus from Nueva Vizcaya for the past 10 years. As we can see here in the data forwarded, the production of mandarin, which is the major citrus fruit produced of Nueva Vizcaya, is declining. Based on my literature search, this may be due to pests or other biological factors. This, at any rate, is alarming. While the production of citrus fruits declined over the years, it is our job as local consumers to continuously patronize our own products and raise awareness regarding the citrus industry. It is at this time that the citrus industry needs our support the most. To give you some details of my province, Nueva Vizcaya is dubbed as the citrus capital of the Philippines. And it is in Malabing Valley, Casibuna, Vizcaya that we can find most of the citrus farms. If you want to visit our farms after the quarantine period, you may do so. It will take you approximately 6 hours and 40 minutes to travel from Manila to Malabing Valley. So that's 306 kilometers away from Manila and 2,500 feet above sea level. So that's it's very, very cool place. According to the Bureau of Agricultural Research of the Department of Agriculture, there should be more aggressive strategies and advertisements to be done to increase the marketability of the citrus products from Nueva Vizcaya, like improved packaging and branding, and also competitive pricing. With the viability of this industry, education plays a role in educating the locals about the importance of citrus production. Through integrating the citrus industry practices as an application of the concepts taught in school, teachers help the learners to become more aware of the local citrus industry, which will in turn strengthen their patronage for the local citrus products. In the long run, The more the teachers who educate their learners about the citrus industry, the more that these citrus products will continue to be patronized and appreciated. NVSU Food Processing Center follows the zero waste management wherein every part of the citrus harvest is processed into different products. Hence, this study develops a model for instructional material cycling, which is patterned on how the citrus industry processes fresh citrus fruits into various products like wine and vinegar made from pulp and conserves made from the citrus waste products like rinds. This process is a model of teaching science that is zero waste, industry-oriented, and can be used in various science and science-related tertiary or secondary courses or subjects. This teaching model was implemented using the Plan, Do, Study, Act, Action, Research model. Furthermore, this study coincides with the goals of national and international organizations, practices, programs, orders, and laws. RA 9003 or the Ecological Solid Waste Management Program. DepEd Order number 35 series of 2016 on contextualization, localization, and indigenization of the K-12 basic education program. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development of the United Nations, Goal 12 and Goal 13 on responsible production and consumption and climate action, respectively. The DLSTP card, DTI, Bureau of Agricultural Research of the Department of Agriculture, FAO of the United Nations, in improving the citrus industry in the Philippines through integration in science education. And in the International Bureau of Education by the UNESCO on vertical and horizontal articulation of the curriculum. This model of teaching can be used to design activities for the learners in the K-12 basic education curriculum. The incorporation of industry applications to the activities will help the local industry itself to be promoted through science teaching by contextualizing the concepts taught in school based on their applications in the industry. So before proceeding to the objectives of the study, I want you to know the participants of the study. A total of 174 pre-service teachers, so college students taking up education courses. So 97 from the Bachelor of Secondary Education, 46 from the Bachelor of Elementary Education, and 31 students from the Bachelor of Technology and Livelihood Education. So we noticed that there are few enrollees for second and third year last year because of the implementation of the K-12 basic education curriculum. So I want to, at this point in time, I want to thank my collaborators in this action research. So the teachers teaching now these programs in our college. So I want to mention them. Ma'am Venelin Soriano, Ma'am Revelita Rosana, Ma'am Fermilin Adais, Sir Raymond Derillo, Sir Fitzgerald Fabelico, and Ma'am Corazon Francia Hongo. So this study was done in Vizcaya State University, Bambang Campus, Region 2. This study was conducted from April to May school year 2019-2020 during the second semester. So involving pre-service teachers from the College of Teacher Education. So statement of the problem. So phase 1 or the planned stage of this action research. So the researcher described the knowledge and perception of the pre-service teachers about the local citrus industry and their ideas about the utilization of citrus as instructional material in science teaching. The phase 2 or the Do, Study, Act stages. Okay, so the zero waste material cycling and industry-oriented instructional activities. So that's the name of the instructional activities. So we just call it simply ZIMZIA. Okay, so the activities were validated in compliance with the learning standard prescribed in the syllabus. So the efficacy of the ZIMZIA embedded in the instructional materials were described by answering the questions. So the qualitative questions reinforced the quantitative data gathered in phase 1 and phase 2. So the questions: how extensive is the articulation of ZIMZIAs conducted by pre-service teachers when related according to the types of the ZIMZIA, course programs, and course subjects? So during instruction, what are the features of the ZIMZIA that can help promote the citrus industry of the province? After the conduct of the ZIMZIA, what are the roles of the education course program in the promotion of citrus industry in Vizcaya? Based on the written activities submitted by the pre-service teachers, are there signs of articulating citrus as instructional material to other fields? And lastly, how evident is zero waste management in the conduct of the ZIMZIA? So the first phase, or the plan stage, was the development of the ZIMZIA, which is based on the citrus industry awareness and product patronage of the pre-service teachers. The second phase, or the do, study, act stages, involved the implementation and post-implementation stages. The implementation includes the conduct of the ZIMZIA by the pre-service teachers, assessment of their laboratory skills and performance, and write-ups, or the outputs. Lastly, the post-implementation involved the quantitative and qualitative analysis of the post-survey and structured interviews respectively. And of course, the evaluation of the activity outputs. So this is the model. Nueva Vizcaya citrus was used as the primary instructional material for biology, chemistry, earth science, and TLE subjects. In chemistry class, the pre-service teachers extracted citrus essential oils as part of their lesson in fats and lipids. The essential oils extracted were used by the technology and livelihood education class to make homemade soaps. These homemade soaps were tested for antibacterial property by students in biology class. All biodegradable waste materials produced in all of the activities conducted were collected and utilized by students in earth science who are doing an activity on biocomposting. The biocompost produced were used to grow citrus seedlings, and these seedlings may be planted as part of the tree planting activity of the school later on. So a few years later, maybe 2 to 3 years, the citrus fruits that will be harvested from these trees planted will be utilized for the instructional activities of the next students. So that is now sustainability and zero waste management in education. So to connect this model to the new normal, so it can be scaled to a household level. Wherein teaching various, we can teach various subjects thematically using the materials that learners can see in their home. So activities that are safe, multidisciplinary, environmental friendly, sustainable, and promote the local industry. For example, we can ask the learners to do backyard gardening of locally grown vegetables, and we can relate this to our lessons in science or other related subjects. So that is now creativity and resourcefulness of the teacher at work. So phase 1 of the study includes identification of the participants, development of the instruments, survey questionnaire, the development of the activities or the ZIMZIA, and of course, identifying the citrus industry awareness and patronage of the pre-service teachers. So as part of phase 1, I sought approval from Vizcaya State University regarding the conduct of the action research. So the college dean, Dr. Elma Apostol, the campus administrator, Dr. Carlo Vadil, VP Rev D, Dr. Wilfredo Dumale Jr., and the university president, Dr. Andres Tagyam, approved the request. And memorandum to take over the classes was issued by Dr. Fitzgerald Fabelico, duly approved by the department chair, Dr. Laila Hernandez, and the college dean, Dr. Apostol. So, also, ethics clearance was sought from De La Salle University Research Ethics Office, and waivers for the students were released. So the action research utilized a survey questionnaire as part of the plan stage. The questionnaire is composed of 10-item polar questions for citrus industry awareness and 10-item 4-point Likert survey for citrus product patronage. So together with experts from citriculture, research, and science education, Dr. Socorro Aguja, Dr. Jonar Ayago, our research director, and Ms. Jeneline Carion, our college research coordinator, carefully crafted and developed the content of the said questionnaire. Of course, we did post-con and interviews too. For citrus industry patronage, specific focus areas are categorized into fresh citrus fruits and processed citrus products patronage. So most preferred citrus fruit, citrus tree interest, and extent of advertisement. On the other hand, their perception or the perception level of the pre-service teachers regarding the local citrus industry will give me an idea of their levels of awareness and patronage for citrus fruits. So that will be utilized now later in developing my SIMZIA. So citrus industry awareness and citrus product patronage responses describe the awareness of the pre-service teachers about the citrus industry in terms of the varieties grown, location of farms, production management, and support given by NVSU to the citrus industry, while patronage describe specifically the pre-service teachers' patronage on fresh citrus fruits, processed citrus products, citrus tree interest, and their extent of advertisement. So the previous slide showed the figure and table of correlation between the citrus industry awareness and citrus product patronage of the pre-service teachers. So what are the implications of this to teaching? What can we do as teachers? So in order to help in the promotion of citrus industry in the province, all possible ways to advertise the citrus fruits and products should be tried. It was during the month of September when the most recent citrus fiesta was held. It was through social media that even for some who did not attend the fiesta were kept updated about the daily activities and programs during the celebration. Internet in this case can be good medium to advertise the citrus industry in Vizcaya. So I have here a figure that shows data mined from Google. So I use Google Trends here. Google Trends is a tool from Google company that can be used to analyze the popularity of a specific search query across various regions of the world. So it will record the search query type in Google when people would type now something using Google engine. So it will record. So using Google Trend, the popularity of searching the word citrus in the Philippines can be determined. For the past 12 months, the peak of popularity for citrus are during the month of July to January. Surprisingly, this popularity of web search coincides with the months when the peak of citrus production in Nueva Vizcaya happens, especially during the month of November. And digging in, the top interest for citrus web searches is from Cagayan Valley region, where Nueva Vizcaya is located. So what is the implication of the CIA or the citrus industry awareness and patronage or citrus product patronage to teaching? So teachers may help in raising awareness and patronage of citrus industry among learners by making use of fresh citrus as instructional material to make learners be familiarized with the citrus fruits. We should involve learners in citrus farm visits. Of course, not possible now because it's quarantine period. So invite farm owners to discuss about citrus propagation and conduct entrepreneurial activities where learners can buy or sell citrus fruits. Teachers may design activities that are patterned by how the university processes citrus fruits into other products, like laboratory activities that produce citrus products from fresh citrus fruits, researches that geared toward citrus pest control, citrus propagation, community impact of citrus and citrus-based products, and intervention of education in industry. Zero waste utilization of citrus instructional material, and replicating the manner on how the university processes citrus fruits. So teachers may design some activities that also increase the citrus tree interest of the learners, like citrus seedlings propagation, which can be planted later during their required tree planting activities, biocomposting for citrus seedlings, marketing of fresh citrus fruits from the cultivated citrus trees, and organizing college-wide or university-wide citrus tree planting activity. So that's the end of the plan stage. So phase 2 involve now the do, study, act stages. So in phase 2, it involved the implementation of the ZIMSIA and rating the performance of the pre-service teachers in their conduct, including waste management. So the designed ZIMSIA conducted are, we have essential oil extraction from citrus rinds to be conducted by the chemistry class, flammability and combustibility tests for citrus oil extracts, citrus soap making for the Bachelor in Technology and Livelihood Education class. We have also antibacterial tests for citrus soap for the Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in General Science. We have also citrus waste and residues biocompost as an organic fertilizer for the students taking up earth science courses. Okay, so the citrus varieties used were pomelo, satsuma, lime, and calamansi. Okay, so first, we have here the BAGCED students or pre-service teachers conducting now the essential oil extraction from citrus rinds. So this involves peeling to maceration with ethanol to yield weighing. So what can we derive from this, or what can we reflect upon on these activities? So to improve the essential oil extraction activity of the ZIMSIA, the teacher may design an activity wherein the pre-service teachers are asked to develop improvised laboratory materials or set up for essential oil extraction. Of course, this reflection was formulated after I interviewed the students regarding the activity conducted on essential oil extraction. So the activity on flammability and combustibility tests for citrus crude oil extracts was conducted by the BAGCED General Science major. So prior to the conduct of the activity, demonstration was done. Then after that, the pre-service teacher performed the flame test themselves. So to improve the flammability and combustibility test, the following is recommended. So in the next cycle of this action research, I may include flame tests for the other wires brought by the pre-service teachers to avoid inconsistency of results. Because when I asked the students to bring wire for flammability and combustibility tests, they brought with them various wires. But the recommended wire should be a nichrome wire, but other students brought copper wire and other wires. Okay, so another recommendation, always preserve excess citrus extracts to be used at times when there is insufficiency of citrus extract for flammability and combustibility tests. So the extract from the first activity on essential oil extraction was utilized in this citrus soap making activity. So conducted by the Bachelor of Technology and Livelihood Education pre-service teachers. So of course, prior to the conduct of this citrus soap making activity, there was a discussion, of course, facilitated by me as the action researcher. And then the pre-service teachers performed the activity on soap making. And these are some of the citrus soaps made by the pre-service teachers. So they have their own soap formulation. They have the pomelo extract with vitamin E and oats, lime extract with dried rose petals, and satsuma extract with aloe vera. So there. But of course, since that was their first time to do soap making activity, some of them failed in making a hard soap. Okay, so the teacher researcher recommends the following: basic chemistry industry applications should be intensified using series of soap making activities, both for hard and liquid soaps with various additives. For BEd, or the elementary education pre-service teachers, they can create a version of the soap making activity suitable for elementary students. For BSEd, they may include specific chemical reactions involved in the saponification with the additives. For BTLED, or Technology and Livelihood Education pre-service teachers, they may design a plan on how to make the citrus soap marketable to the local consumers. So the antibacterial test for citrus soap was conducted by the BSEd Gen Sci pre-service teachers. So prior to the laboratory activity, there was a preliminary or pre-laboratory demonstration on the proper technique and orientation regarding aseptic techniques. The demonstration was facilitated by me as their substitute teacher, and the Mecoteco laboratory technician, Mr. Melvin Cubian, and of course, with the supervision of the research director, Dr. Jonar I. Yago. The antibacterial assay was all done by the students themselves. This includes from preparation of materials, inoculation, streaking, and observation of the zones of inhibition. But to improve the antibacterial test for the next cycle of action research, the following is recommended. More biological assays should be done as part of the ZIMZIA to better enhance the laboratory skills of the students. So the last activity conducted was the biocompost made from citrus waste and residues. Of course, these are the waste products and residues from all the previous activities conducted. So they were actually collected and dried for this activity on biocomposting. So after 2 weeks, I think 2 to 3 weeks, okay, the students observe the quality of the biocompost to germinate the seeds or the citrus seeds. And few days later, lime seedlings were seen growing on one of the biocompost. So that is satsuma seedlings. So to improve the activity on biocompost, again, for the next cycle, for the next PDSA cycle of the action research, there should be centralized biocompost pit for ZIMZIA waste materials. So So tasks and schedule should be assigned to individual students in order to monitor strictly the maintenance of the biocompost. So the laboratory skills of the pre-service teachers in conducting the ZIMZIA were assessed using a rubric, and the ratings were done by the teacher researcher. So the assessment made by the teacher researcher was validated through in-depth and focus group interviews, individual essays by the pre-service teachers, and feedback sessions. This manner of rating is classified under formative assessment, which involves multiple perspective assessment. So guide questions were provided by the teacher, that's me, to direct the essay of the students, which will be discussed in addition during feedbacking sessions. So this table shows the societal and industry implication of using citrus as instructional material, and this is actually this is actually perceived by the students. They learned that citrus fruits as food and cosmetics promote livelihood, that citrus industry can promote and strengthen tourism and local economy, that citrus awareness raises appreciation for citrus farms and farmers. So after the plan, do, study stages, or the PDSA cycle, an action plan was made. Actually, this is the revision of the action plan. So it includes the pre-implementation, implementation, and post-implementation stages for the next PDSA cycle. So conducting the ZIMZIA to improve the awareness and patronage of my students was the aim of this study. But eventually, it was I who became more aware and more interested about the citrus products of my province. I was able to heighten my passion for teaching, to be able to use my profession to promote our industry and our love for the environment. This is a great start to becoming a teacher with a greater purpose. It took a community of experts and colleagues to develop this dissertation. And now that this study has been done, it is now my turn to give back to my community what I can do as a teacher to improve our citrus industry through teaching. So that ends my presentation. I will share to you some of the pictures taken in Batumi, Georgia during the Action Research to Innovate Science Teaching Conference. So that's me, Dr. Prudente, my colleagues Colleen and Christina, Dr. Aguja, Dr. Roleda, and Dr. Lapinid. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rodney Kahima. Truly, you are a pride of the Nueva Vizcaya State University. Hello to all your colleagues, if there are in the audiences I wouldn't know. Hello.
Yes, there are actually teachers here watching also my presentations, Dr. Dita.
That's great. And hello to artist representatives, Dr. Ligia Roleda is in the audience. I think in the list of participants. Hello, Dr. Roleda. Welcome to the DLSU Leader series of online lectures. Okay, thank you for allowing us to co-host this lecture with artists. Okay. Dr. Mini is also in the audience, I think. Dr. Mini, Dr. Roleda, Dr. Aguja, Tama? Okay, Dr. Prudente?
Yes.
Hello, Dr. Prudente.
Okay, of course, your advisor, Dr. Prudente.
Yes, my advisor.
So at this point, we'd like to welcome questions from our audiences. Rodney, you can actually see, you can access the chat box, right?
Yes, yeah. Dr. Dita.
Wow, wonderful picture, Dr. Rodney, and congratulations for being the outstanding dissertation award recipient.
Of course, with the help of my colleagues in the College of Teacher Education here in our Vizcaya State University, Bambang Campus, and also with the support of our campus administrator, Dr. Vadil, our president, Dr. Tagyam.
Okay, good, good. And of course, your advisor, Dr. Prudente.
Yes, and most especially my advisor, Dr. Prudente.
Okay.
And Ched, of course.
Yeah, of course. I'll probably start the ball rolling. You showed something about the Google trend.
Yes, Dr. Dita.
Either I was not listening or I didn't catch you as explain the one. But what was again the relevance of including the Google trend in the action research approach? Kindly
Actually,
enlighten me, okay?
yes, Dr. Dita. Actually, I use Google Trend. Okay, out of curiosity, I just wanted to determine whether my fellow Vizcayanos search the word citrus on Google. So surprisingly, they actually search citrus as a search query on Google during the months of November to January. Okay, so the peak of the search query citrus was during the months of November and January. And I think, okay, as a teacher, okay, if that is the case, I can strengthen or amplify their awareness, their interest, their patronage for citrus during those times also. Okay, so I can integrate also citrus in my lessons during those months. And then there we can increase more of their interest regarding citrus fruits.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rodney. I encourage everyone, I mean, in the list of participants to type in your questions, but you can also raise your hand if you want to be called to ask your own question, okay? For now, I'll just be reading them because you posted your questions in the chat box. This is coming from Grace Luzon. Dr. Rodney, how long did you do the research?
So are you referring to the implementation? Because the implementation took about 3 months, okay, for the implementation. But for the pre-implementation, it took me years, actually, Dr. Dita, to come up with this topic. So there were times when I needed to go in Malabing Valley to visit the citrus farms myself, just to witness how they process citrus products. Also, I visited our food processing centers just to know how our university processes the citrus fruits also. So it took me a while, Dr. Dita, to come up with this dissertation topic, but the implementation of the action research, specifically the do stage, so it took me 3 months to implement the activities.
Okay, and you might want to also encourage everyone to, do an AR approach. So they are actually interested in knowing what about the analysis and the writing of the AR itself. I think the whole cycle, they are interested to know.
For the whole cycle, if I include now the from conceptualizing the idea until the analysis or writing the manuscript. So it took me actually 2 years to do that, Dr. Dita, 2 years.
But that's for your dissertation, right? That's your dissertation.
Yes, Dr. Dita, this is my dissertation.
So just to clarify to our basic ed teachers who might be very interested to conduct an AR for themselves as well.
Yes, but
Dr. Rodney is part of his dissertation. So if you're
thinking
of doing probably a short-term AR.
Yes, but they can do actually, or they can do implementation for maybe a quarter year. For a quarter year, they can already implement their action research. But since this is a dissertation, so it took me a while to come up with this dissertation. But for our basic education teachers who are watching now, they can do this for a single quarter, maybe, Dr. Dita. It's possible to do that.
I see. Dr. Bing, would you like to add to that one? just to enlighten our basic ed teachers on how long a usual AR approach take place, the whole process.
So I'll just go back to the earlier question on Google Trends. Actually, what's this? Dr. Rodney used it as part of assessing the current situation with data-based technology. So in the case of Google Trends, we understood at that time that it was quite difficult to get information from local agencies. So Dr. Rodney sought the intervention of FAO so that he could get information about the citrus industry in Nueva Vizcaya. And he also used the Google Trends to gather more data-based information, because when you assess the situation, it can help you plan. It actually helped him plan the SIMSIA.
I see. Okay. Dr. Lydia, if you are around, I mean, and you'd like to contribute also to the discussion, I have unmuted you. Please feel free to speak and to contribute to the discussion. Okay. You are actually unmuted, Dr. Lydia.
Okay, thank you, Shirley. Good morning to everyone. And well, I just want to commend Dr. Rodney for a very, very informative presentation. We are connected somehow, Rodney and the team, Dr. Prudente, Dr. Aguja, because we have this project also in action research. So this is called Artist, which Rodney has mentioned during his presentation. And for the teachers who are in this discussion, I would like to invite them that if they have action researches, they can have them published. We have a journal, an online journal, to which they can submit their works to. So it's called Arise. So I'm going to share with everyone the link to that, and then they can also find some resource materials on action research. Our team is action research to innovate science teaching. So this is an Erasmus international project. And so we have collaboration with other universities abroad, like in Germany, we have the University of Bremen. In Ireland, we have University of Limerick, and so on. So they have shared with us their resources about action research. So I think it would also, it can help our basic ed teachers to go visit the website. They can find resource materials there. They can also find the works that are done through the project. I'll send it. Maybe I'll send it to you, and then you can distribute. You can.
Dr. Lydia, you can post the link actually in the chat box. You can access that one for everyone to see, okay, so that they can just click from there. Okay.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, thanks.
So let me reintroduce again. I already mentioned this one in my opening. Dr. Lydia Roleda is the Artist Project Director, or Artist means Action Research to Innovate Science Teaching. So this is a huge project which is funded by Erasmus. Okay. Thank you for that, Dr. Lydia. We continue. We have a lot of questions here posted in the chat box. This is coming from, what is that? This is coming from, wow, ang dami na. Marlene Curio. Is it possible that one AR done in one school can be replicated by other schools? Anyone from our AR gurus can answer that one, but Rodney and Dr. Bing can come in later on. Is it possible that one action research done in one school be replicated by other schools?
Okay, so based on the qualitative touchstones that I presented, so you can actually fulfill, or you can actually abide by the guidelines set by the qualitative touchstones, but this would be always be dependent on the criteria provided by the publication if your work is to be published. It's for publication, I rather.
Action research is characterized by iteration. It's an iterative process. So I see no reason why an action research done in one school cannot be replicated, because research process is basically characterized by replicability. So the only thing is you have to contextualize the action research in that particular institution, because what has happened in the case of Dr. Rodney may be a different situation in another institution. So as long as the instruments that were developed in the previous research, action researches were, permission were sought and citation is properly done during the writing of the action research report.
I see. Okay. Thank you for clarifying the one, Dr. Bing. Here's another question from Joyce Luna. What should we do if there's no related studies regarding the action research that we are trying to work on?
Okay, so as I have mentioned a while ago, so there could be some issues that are actually unique to every situations. So maybe what they can do is to search for a similar issue, okay? Because as I've said, action research is actually all about examining our own practice. So there could be no exact action research that can support or that can be related to our own issues. So maybe they can do some other literature search which are action research related to to their own issues. But as I've said, there could be small or no exact action research that could support their own action research topic.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and the absence of related studies, or maybe there is a dearth, but not actually absence of related studies, because you cannot really find a study very similar to yours. You can only find studies that have been done previously that are relevant to your current study. So what you can do is to establish baseline data for your case. As in the case of Dr. Rodney, he established the baseline data on citrus industry in Nueva Vizcaya and use it in designing the SIMSIA activities. So the data that he got from the Bureau of Food Industry, whatever, FAO, DA were used. And those were baseline data.
I see. Okay. That's very insightful, Dr. Bing. Okay. Is it possible to do the same study in the new normal? This is coming from Rinds, Alvin Gabay. Is it possible to do the same study in the new normal? Dr. Ronnie, would you like to answer that? Definitely, but yeah, Dr. Ronnie, would you like to add more to the discussion? Dr. Bing, I don't know, probably.
Yes, very possible. You can still do interview using Google Meet or Zoom. You can still do focus group discussion. The only thing that you cannot do is to leave the room, leave your house. But the rest can be done using web-based resources, the computer, with the aid of technology, you can use. No? So as mentioned by Dr. Rodney, I hope he can come back. Some of the activities in the SIMSIA can be used as home-based activities. The laboratory activities can be, not laboratory, the experimental activities can be done home-based, but then there's a lot of caution that has to be involved. So in the case of basic education student, there has to be parental involvement and use of non-hazardous materials or products from the kitchen maybe can be used as substitutes. But this has to be planned very well by the teacher researcher.
Wow, that's very enlightening, Dr. Bing. Okay, I'll read more questions here. This is coming from Doriden Fabre. Is it possible that an experimental research combined with action research, is it possible? Okay, how might be the style or strategy?
Remember that action research is a research done by the researcher to improve his practice. So if you're a teacher of a laboratory class and you want to improve the teaching of laboratory, then you can use action research. Remember, the essence of action research is the practice that you're currently using is based on theories, educational theories or pedagogical theories. And the theory will also be used, no, the practice refines the theory, and the theory that you use in designing the plan will actually improve the practice. So it's an interplay, or action research in a way provides a nexus between theory and practice. So it can be done, but with the sole purpose, or the main purpose, not sole. The main purpose of the research is not just to study about or find new knowledge, but more importantly, to improve the practice. So if your intent is to improve your practice of teaching laboratory skills, then using an experiment as a context to show how practice of teaching can be improved, then yes, the answer is yes. You can combine experimental work with teaching or any other practice associated with the experiment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. B. Here's another question coming from Joyce Luna. Do we have to do the action research first before we incorporate it in our teaching learning process, or we can do it both at the same time?
Actually, you can do it at the same time, because the teacher has to be a reflective teacher, meaning as you practice your profession, you have to be reflective. No, most of the time, I think we're doing that. The only thing is you're not documenting it properly. So I know that over the years, as you teach, from your first year of teaching up to the X number of years that you've taught, you have always been changing your styles, changing your materials, changing your teaching, learning materials, changing your strategies, and you're basing it on the performance of your students, because essentially we teach so that our students can learn. So you've been doing it, but the point is you have not shared, with others how you have done it so that others may learn. That's why education sector has embraced the paradigm of action research to look into the action research process as a potent mechanism to bring about changes in our practices as educators.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bing. Here's another one from Simon Toribio. Does it always have to have impact in society when the problem to be solved is just a classroom-based or school-based? I'm not sure if Rob is already with us, but thank you, Dr. Bing, for jumping in. Okay,
So as mentioned by Dr. Rodney in the presentation, one of the touchstone is significance. Your action research does not solve a problem. No, action research is not meant to solve a problem, but except for problem in your professional practice, because you want to improve it. You see it not necessarily as a problem, but you want to improve the practice of teaching, practice of assessing, practice, whatever is related to your professional practice.
I mean, again, this is coming from, probably it's just a comment from Giovanni Manalastas. Since ang pomelo ay citrus, I'm suggesting na pwede i-integrate sa chemistry at physics and become source of energy, electrical energy. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Pwede po yun. Actually, isa po yan sa mga activities din na kinandak ko on flammability and essential oil extraction. So, pwede po yun. Ang tawag po doon is actually the contextualization and indigenization of the activities as prescribed by the DepEd Order number 35 series of 2016. So, pwede po yun, sir. It depends on the topic also on how will you relate these materials to your topics. That's how to contextualize and indigenize your activities.
Mhm. Okay.
Add something.
Yes, Dr. Vic, go ahead.
Can I add something because I'm reading some of the questions
Yeah.
and the entries in the chat box, no? Yes, doing science investigatory projects at home may be dangerous. That's why I stress that there should be emphasis on the instructions and as well as the materials that can be used. But as a substitute for doing these science laboratory activities, basically science, the teaching of science is doing science. We cannot just teach science as concepts. The students have to understand the processes involved in science. And so we can, in the new normal, where we are using online resources, we can make use of video experiments, such as the ones provided in biology by in the website Bio Interactive. Any lesson in biology, you can find a video where the students can watch for 5 to 10 minutes so that they can get an idea of how it is going to, it's done, and then they can be tested. The students can be tested as to how far they have understood what they have seen from the video. So that can be a substitute for the actual hands-on training. Hopefully, when the quarantine period is less tight, then we can have perhaps a chance to go to the school for blended learning, because undoubtedly the teaching of science involves doing science.
Mhm. Okay. So Dr. Bing, does that answer the question of Chanilos Saldon all about doing science investigatory projects?
Yes, yes, I think so.
Yep,
So
yeah.
try to log on to www.biointeractive, and you will find, as biology teachers, a lot of simulated experiments that may take within 10 to 15 minutes, no, for the as useful resources or materials for teaching laboratory processes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There's also a side comment here saying that I hope from Dr. Lydia, would you like to add to that one?
Well, I was just thinking that yes, you can do the online teaching, but you can also do online science, and it doesn't mean that you would be doing the like experiments really online, but the idea is you can ask your students to do some activities at their homes using readily available materials that they can get also from their homes, like yung mga kitchen, like baking soda, this and that. So those things, they can do those activities at the safety of their houses. And the online part is like a supervision part. Like they can do synchronous session with the teachers and the students, and then the teachers would be looking at the students as they do their activities. So that can be part of the online science activity. It simply means that the doing experiments online is not really like using technology as you do the experiments, but you can do the experiment manually in your houses under the supervision of your teacher. That's that's one way of delivering, or how to do science activities during these times when the students cannot go to their schools.
That's very enlightening, Dr. Lydia. Okay, so I think that's the concern of most of the science teacher here, like the conduct of the experiment in their own houses. Okay. There's also a comment here coming from Geraldine De Castro. I hope that everybody will realize that research is conducted to improve the practice rather than additional work. Yes, I hope everyone realizes that by now. Okay. I'm still looking. I think there are no more questions, but there's one from Joyce Luna. How can action research become accepted as good or great action research?
Okay. Sure, may I share my input
Yeah, please do.
about because this is a very valid question. This has been the question of action research being well challenged as not along the lines of the accepted researches. This is one of the things that are parang the skeptics about action research. The thing is, action research does not pose to be along those lines because the accepted the traditional researches that we know would would mean that there would be like new knowledge to be contributed, and there will be it's like a universal universally accepted new knowledge. Now because action research is based on a more unique and small, like small environment, it doesn't pose to contribute universally to new knowledge. But this can be thought of as action research being a practical research because you can categorize researches differently. You can have the basic research. The basic research means it's not the fundamental research, but basic in the sense that it is foundation research, that the result of these researches contribute to new knowledge. Now, action research is more on the practical research side. So it may not be able to contribute to new knowledge for that particular action research, but it is practical because it changes something. So that's the start. And if people would do the same thing, like replicate, because action research can be replicated, then it is possible that later on, this practical research can contribute to new knowledge. And so thereby, if you look at it that way, then action research is also an acceptable research, just like what the other traditional researches enjoy. That's my input.
Wow, that's very clear. Thank you very much. Okay, Dr. Bing, of course you can answer that one.
Of course, we have been hearing comments like that, like wag ka nang gumawa ng thesis, mag-action research ka na lang. But I think that can be that line of thinking is how do you call it? A paradigm that has to be changed, no? Because I think these people are saying those things because, or have such ideas because they do not really know the processes, the methodologies in action research, the principles. So if you have heard, as you have seen from Dr. Rodney Kahimat's presentation, there are 8 touchstones that actually prove that where you can find evidences that action research is as rigorous as the other research practice. But the most important aspect of action research is that it links theory to practice. As I said earlier, it provides a nexus. So unlike other researches where you study about other people, in action research, you study about yourself. It's a reflective research by a professional who wants to improve his practice. So action research, if you will look at the history, started with medical personnel, the doctors, the nurses, and then it went to engineering. Action research is very critical in engineering, among engineering students in all universities. No? In fact, the conduct of action research is essential for the engineering curriculum to be accepted in the what's this convention. There's a accreditation, no? Washington Accord. Yeah. Kailangan yung action yung engineering programs ng action research. only of late, actually, if you look at the literature, parang early 90s lang pumasok yung education, because then they realize, the educators realize that action research can be a good mechanism to improve teaching and learning practices. So ang focus talaga ng action research is to improve practice. It doesn't meant to generalize, no? Kasi unique yung experience nung professional dun sa kinakonduct niya na action research. So it varies from one professional to another. Ganon, no?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Bing. Ang daming naliliwanagan po sa inyong mga input. We are very lucky. We have here Dr. Bing and Dr. Lydia and of course Dr. Rodney. Ang dami pong natin natututunan. Okay, here's a sharing from Joyce Luna. We can also share something. I just want to share about my experience before in doing research. They say if there is no significant relationship, it will be nothing. That is why I'm afraid to conduct a new one. Any comments on that, Dr. Bing, Dr. Lydia? Dr. Aguha is also with us. Okay, you can always jump in the conversation, Dr. Aguha. You have been unmuted too. Okay. Go ahead, Doctor. Yeah, anyone can answer to that one, or you can just probably share their experience too. What can you say about the sharing of Joyce, Luna?
Significant relationship does not necessarily mean that
It's not
your
significant.
study is not significant.
Yeah.
Significant relationship only means that the variables you are studying are not related. No? That's what significant relationship, it simply describes. No? So that should not form the basis. However, what is important is you conduct a critical review of related studies so you can hypothesize as a researcher what you think could be variables that are significantly correlated or not. No? In action research, there is lesser emphasis on that because, as I said, you are investigating your own practice. But in designing, for example, in the case of Rodney, when he tried to design a ZIM-ZIA, he correlated the students' citrus product awareness and citrus product appreciation so that he can use it as a precursor to the kind and quality of activities that he will include in his instructional plan. Rodney, can you elaborate further?
Okay, so it's all about correlation, right, Dr. Dita? I'm afraid that to say that action research is not just about quantitative analysis. So we can triangulate our data with qualitative data too to support the quantitative findings. Just like in my case, so I conducted survey, interview, and focus group discussions just to establish the citrus industry awareness and patronage of my participants of the study. So it is not just to focus on one type of data, but rather to triangulate other data such as qualitative data into the analysis.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll read. I need inputs for this. Last year, our students in senior high school developed a machine to recycle styro into nano threads. Their project really was developing the nano threads rather than the machine. Our students sent the sample in Manila for the analysis of the sample threads and spent. Can you suggest institution other than DOST that we may partner in the future for projects like this? From the very start, we asked our students if they would be willing to spend for it. We even discouraged them from pursuing the project, but they assured us that they would spend on their own. So any input from Dr. Bing, Dr. Lydia, or Dr. Kahimat, or whoever has any input related to this one?
Okay, I can share with you what I know as a member of the National Research Council of the Philippines and part of the technical panel for the Department of Science and Technology. Yes, you're right. You can ask DOST for assistance. In fact, NRCP in particular has a program where we can send or provide institutions with experts in the field. For example, in your case, in the field of nanotechnology, there is, when you go to the DOST website and then you click on NRCP, there is SKMS where you can click the one expert, and then you can write to the director to request for an expert to help you in terms of quantification, because of course our basic education schools do not have the necessary equipment, no, laboratory equipment. Aside from the OST, you can also partner with state universities. You try to look for state universities and even private universities like De La Salle University, which is highly engaged in investigatory research, who might be able to assist you in your research. Of course, there are certain conditions that may be required for assistance purposes.
That's yeah, and edit. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, Dr. Lydia.
I would like to add to what Dr. Prudentes mentioned. Perhaps, Chanilo, you can identify the equipment that you need or that the research requires. For example, you need an XRD, the X-ray diffractometer, or the MRI, those things. And then you can ask universities if they have this equipment. And so if they have, then you can tie up with them. So it would be good to know what kind of machines your research would need. And then you look for where these machines are available for your use. Because I know that De La Salle, particularly in chemistry department, they allow senior high students to use their machines. So of course there would be protocols or there are procedures, but the important thing is they can use them. Okay, so yon. So, but you have to identify first ano yung mga machines na kailangan para sa research to characterize what you have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go
Can you
ahead.
hear me?
Yes po.
Okay. So, the concern, sino ba to? Ronelo?
Nilo.
Nilo. There is one private foundation that really gives funding. Yung Lacton, try to see this in website. Lacton is
Spell.
LOCKTON is giving funding or grant to anyone who will be proposing an action research. I-justify mo lang on how significant is your project. Pero hindi masyado itong strict, kumbaga, kasi hindi marami ang nagsasubmit. So probably you can submit on that. Kasi machine ka eh. May impact ito sa community. So probably you can qualify. Try to search that in the website. Lacton. Action research ang sinafundingan nito.
Okay.
Okay.
Siguro one last question. Okay. It's already 11:56. We want to end the session at 12 o'clock. This is coming from Randolph Katungal, although we have already partly addressed this one. I remember so far that there was one lecturer who said that AR can be done without RRL. What is your stand about this matter?
Kanina na yan na ano?
Would you like to, yeah, say again, to answer that one again?
Okay, can I answer that?
Yes, please do, Dr.
Any form of research requires a review of related literature, because how can you know if the inquiry has already been solved, or how far has the issue been addressed? Okay, so therefore, you need a review of relevant literature, a critical review, so that you can find out how much it has been addressed by other researchers. Okay? Can you hear me? Narinig ba ako? Okay, yun. So lahat ng research po, ay quanti man siya o quali, requires a review of related literature because this will give you an idea on the baseline. Because how can you note the change if you don't know where you're coming from, diba? So logically, you need to review the literature to find out how much has been done before you can introduce certain changes, diba, in your practice.
That's right. Okay. So before we end today's lecture, let me just announce, because I read some questions here asking if there are other presentations like this. Yes, as early as now, we would like to announce that there are upcoming webinars on action research. So August
24.
August 24 will be Dr.
Sure.
Walter Mistades on the use of Facebook in teaching physics in the new normal. August 31 will be Dr. Dennis Davy Arabo on improved practice on technology embedded approach. And then September 7 is Dr. Aguha on conducting action research, new normal PDSA model. And there will be more. We will just announce. Okay, there's also a request on action research in English. Yes, we will have that one. Okay, we'll have, I mean, this whole pandemic season, okay, Leader will be offering free online lectures on action research. And this is to encourage everyone, especially our public school teachers, to start doing their action research in preparation, of course, of our ARAL 2021. So I hope to see all of you in the ARAL 2021. Dr. Bing, would you like to add to that one?
Yes. This Monday Action Research webinar series is part of the Leader and ARAL efforts to bring to the to bring forth more information on and share with interested action researchers, educators about action research. We intend to provide you with exemplars. So on the other hand, Leader has also agreed to help us, the DLSU Biota chapter. So we will also be having the Thursday Action Research webinar series every second and fourth Thursday starting September. So this will again be organized by Leader together with Biota DLSU, and then in cooperation with, of course, artists, as part of our commitment to sustain the conduct of action research to improve science teaching.
Thank you, Dr. Bing. So in the future, there will be an online lecture on doing action research in the areas of English, on ALMD, on educational technology, on science, math, okay? We try to cover all areas possible, okay? So at this point, I'd like to, okay, thank once again, Dr. Rodney Kahimat for sharing a part of his dissertation, okay, to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Rodney. That was really very insightful, very engaging. Let's give Dr. Rodney, okay, a virtual clap. Yeah, I can hear everyone clapping, okay. Thank you very much to our action research experts here, Dr. Bing, of course, Dr. Lydia, Dr. Aguha. I'm not sure if Dr. Mini is around, Dr. Mini, okay, and everyone else. Please stand by for more online lectures on action research. So we already mentioned that we try to cover as many areas as possible, not just in language ed or English, but other areas too. So we started already with EdTech last time, with science this time, okay, and physics next time, and more topics coming in, okay? And I'm not going to end yet the session because some are still trying to access the link to the PDF and to the evaluation. But for those who are already done, thank you very much for attending today's lecture. Thank you, Dr. Bing. Thank you, Dr. Lydia, Dr. Aguha, and especially Dr. Kahimat. Thank you very much for sharing your wonderful study with everyone. Okay? Thank you. You can